Welcome. This video is documenting the prediction that famous singer-songwriter Paul Simon of Simon and Garfunkel will slip and fall and severely injure his head on November 27th, 2025, Thanksgiving Day. And it is predicted that the news of this will be first reported on November 28th, 2025, Black Friday. The post date on the social media platform that you are watching this video on proves that this prediction is being made ahead of time, as does this time-stamped email and forensic notes PDF document. If you are skeptical for some reason, please email me and I will forward these to you. Paul Simon famously opened the first broadcast of Saturday Night Live in New York City after 9/11. He also performed at the 9/11 memorial on the 10-year anniversary. Simon also performed a reunion concert with Garfunkel in Central Park in Manhattan. On 9/11, planes crashed into towers in Manhattan and people died. Okay, I'll just repeat this now. So Simon, again, like I've explained, is associated with 9/11 because he performed at the first broadcast after 9/11 from Manhattan, Saturday Night Live, and also on the 10-year anniversary at the memorial. Okay, now he also performed in Central Park, the reunion concert, which incidentally, I forgot to mention here, was 9 months and 11 days after John Lennon was shot next to Central Park, but that's another subject. On 9/11, planes crashed into towers in Manhattan and people died. On February 23rd, 2024, a famous owl that had escaped the Central Park Zoo crashed his head into a tower in Manhattan and died and collapsed. February 23rd, 2024 is exactly 90 plus 1 weeks before the predicted news of Simon's crash and fall and head injury on November 28th, 2025. Okay? So in other words, the owl, the famous owl, okay, his death is a 9/11 sign because he crashed with his head into the tower, right? It's also in Manhattan, furthermore. And Simon is Manhattan symbolism, 9/11 symbolism, and he's predicted to fall and crash and injure his head, like the owl injured his head. Paul Simon's new album, 7 Psalms, has owls on its cover. It uses the famous painting by Thomas Moran, 2 Owls, which hints at the 2 towers on 9/11. One thing that I did write in this paragraph, the owl died, well, another thing actually, the owl was 13 years old and 13 symbolizes America. Paul Simon has a famous hit, America, and also a hit American tune. There were 13 colonies that founded America. That's why, the 13. It's all over the money, for example, the number 13. When they did an autopsy on the owl, it was deduced that the owl would have died anyway. And the reason why he hit the tower is because he was disoriented, and that's why he hit the tower, was because he had ingested rat poison from the rats that he had been eating. And so the owl was poisoned and he injured his head. And this is symbolic of how Paul Simon's head injury is pointing to the poisoning that people do to themselves when they take the thing, the mark of the Antichrist, the thing that you can't talk about. You know what I'm talking about. The thing that goes inside people and poisons them, which will lead to demonic possession and disorientation, etc. The demonic possession will be induced by frequencies, which is what music is, which is why Paul Simon and Elvis Presley music frequencies travel through the air, and it will trigger things inside the brains of people that will induce delta brain waves, which will facilitate demonic possession. That's why the beginning of Paul Simon's hit Graceland, the first lyric, is the Mississippi Delta was shining like a national guitar. Paul Simon famously dated Shelley Duvall and then broke up with her at the airport before she flew to the UK to film the movie The Shining, which is about demonic possession. And also a large hotel, which is mansion symbolism.